All right, some quick little updates here. So, LevelTriggerNode here, we can now see it's got a custom display string being displayed here. It's telling us it's in the gate mode and that the threshold is set to 0.9. We now have an editor for this. We can swap it to trigger mode, we can change the threshold, and we can change the trigger duration. This is only used if you're in trigger mode, not in gate mode, and specifies the amount of time the trigger should be held in relationship to 1 second. So this would be 0.1 of a second. So you can see how with the gate we get, actually I'm going to turn this threshold down a little bit or up a little bit depending on how you want to think about it. Make it a little less sensitive. Or is that a little more sensitive? No, that's more sensitive, sorry. We'll go with that for now. Now it's a little less sensitive. So we can see up here that this updates accordingly. If we go ahead and we switch this to a trigger, we'll see that the text up here is now T, the threshold level, and the trigger time. And if we swap back to gate real quick, just we can look at the graph differently now. So we can see here that every time the amplitude is reached in the signal, we're generating a gate, not a trigger. And the gate means that it will keep the state of the level trigger high as long as the signal is above the threshold. When it drops below the threshold, the trigger output also drops below the threshold. If we do a trigger, the trigger works with when the threshold is reached, the trigger output is raised high for the amount of time you've specified. If it is triggered again before that happens, the time is extended to the new period of time. We'll take a look at that now. You'll be able to see how that is working over here. You can see now that it stays for a very specific amount of time. If we were to change this, let's make it half a second. Now we get, for each of those, we get a half a second trigger. I'm assuming the timing's right. I actually haven't checked yet. I'll make it a real small one. Get a little blip, 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 blip. Very nice. That's it. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and put together a step sequencer so that you can program in a number of static values that will be output and moved to the next one via a trigger input. That's that. So exciting.